So, what does it really take to move with small children across the world or to a different country? So, I moved here as an adult on my own for school. So, it was a different reason. And I would say, even when I was a baby, I moved a lot with my parents, but that would be a question for them. But for the purpose of this video, and from the perspective of a mom who's preparing for a move, I wanted to give you some recommendations on things to look at in order to better prepare for this move and the things that are really, really important for me in order to best prepare for this move. Okay, so the first thing you have to look at is really the reason why you are moving. Is this because of work? Is this because you want to live in a different culture, different cost of living? What are the reasons why you want to move? Because you're going to have days when you're like self-doubting and you're like in the bathtub and crying and you're like, why am I doing this? And you're going to have to remember why you are doing this and why it's really important for you to do that, not just for you, but for your family. So remember the reason why you're doing that in the first place. Number two is having a list of your requirements, your non negotiables, the things that really you have to have at your new destination. Obviously, no destination is perfect. You have pros and cons in every country that you go to. And so you're going to have trade offs. There are things that you're going to be like, oh, you know what? It's not perfect, but I'm willing to live with this. Okay. So, for example, non negotiables could be I want to be by the beach, I want a lower cost of living, and I want an English speaking country. Okay. So maybe the trade offs for those could be, well, maybe the cost of living is going to be a little higher, or maybe not the cost of living, but maybe you're going to have to homeschool your kids because there's no international schools in that area. Or maybe, well, you're not going to have to, or maybe you're going to need a car because of just that area. Okay, so what are the trade-offs that you are willing to have because of the choices that you're making? So once you have your non-negotiables, you can start creating a list of potential countries. Let's say that maybe one of your non-negotiable is not to be more than 2 flights away from, to return back to the US. So that means that, okay, Asia, the eastern part of Europe, southern part of Africa, southern part of South America are out. Okay, so maybe you just need one flight, not more than 5 hours. So in that case, if you live on the East Coast in the US and then Western Europe, that's okay for you. And so you can start ranking countries and trying to see, okay, well, maybe England, maybe Mexico, maybe Costa Rica, maybe Portugal, maybe Morocco are good for you. And you start having that list of countries. Once you have that, you can look at your budget and see the cost of living in those countries, the kind of apartments that you can have, the kind of schooling options that you can have, and if these fit with your budget. Next is to look at immigration requirements. Just because you have a passport doesn't mean that you can get in there just like that. You need to know about what it takes for you to get in, how long you can be in for, um, how can you stay, like how can you have residency in that country as well. What are the options? Do you need to start that here before you leave, or can you start that over there? What is the paperwork that you need? What is the paperwork that you need to have done right now, like background checks and things like that, birth certificate, all these things that you need to gather before you leave. So definitely have that in mind. The next thing you have to know is, okay, well, now that you have maybe 2 or 3 countries in mind, or maybe just one, you can go and visit. You can go and scout that place and try to see if it's really going to it's going to be a place that you're going to enjoy. Like check the vibe, check the sometimes you see things on YouTube and it looks really nice, but you really have to go there and see up close how things are really like. How hot it is, how cold it is, how friendly people are, how clean it is, how polluted the air is. All of these things you will only find out once you're there. Maybe you have asthma, maybe you have allergies, maybe your kids have allergies. Look, so getting there for a few weeks will give you a better idea of if this is really a place you see yourself living for a few years or so, okay, or maybe forever. One the things that you also do on your scouting trip is looking at schools, visit some schools, also check safety, how you feel there, check the vibe, like I said. Networking, you are going to look at different housing options if you can, like looking at apartments or houses, if that's a possibility as well. And like I said, networking, that is something that if you don't know people there already, definitely definitely tap into the expat community on Facebook already before you get there, but also once you're there, try to attend some events there in person as well during your scouting trip. This is something that I did when we went to Cote d'Ivoire, my husband and I. I wanted to, well, obviously I have a few friends there, but I also wanted to check the internet speed. So going to co-working spaces to see how fast it was, at my friend's house as well to see how fast it was, and also going to a marketing event to see how what the kind of conversations that people were having, because that's my business, right? I work in marketing, and so I wanted to know if that's something that I could also do over there, and not just with online with my clients here, but also something that I could do in person once we move, and get into the network, existing network of entrepreneurs and all of that. So that's something that you can do in your area of expertise as well. All right, next thing you're going to do is set a date. I know this is really challenging, and maybe you're not going to be able to go on that specific date, but at least have an idea of when you want to leave, because when you set the date, you're more likely to reach that goal of leaving. Okay, set a realistic date, and set a date that would work for you, for your family. So with kids, obviously you're not going to say, well, we're living in March, because March is middle of the school year. Okay, so think December, think end of the year as well. So May, June, ideally going and getting there before the new school year. That way the kids have time to adapt and to make friends and things like that before they're thrown into a new environment, a new school, new friends, and all of that, and potentially a new language. Okay, so set a date and work the plan towards that date. After that is all about the logistics. So logistically, are you going to ship things? Ideally, no. What are you going to declutter? Start decluttering the house. So the things that you're going to sell, the things you're going to keep, maybe store somewhere at a friend's house, at a family's place, or storage, or the things that you're just going to take with you in suitcases. So start decluttering the decluttering process as soon as possible. Mail, clothing, toys, all the things, all the things. When I think about it, my head wants to explode, because it's just so many things that you accumulate over the years and that you don't realize. And sometimes it just comes creeping back in the house from the garage, and it's like it's never ending. But start decluttering, decluttering, decluttering. And last but not least is to follow the plan. Follow the plan. You have to know by this date I want to have this done. By this date I want to have the scouting trip done. By this date I want to start the immigration requirements. By this date I want to have started decluttering the kitchen, the bathroom, the kids bedroom, the master bedroom. All these things, put some deadlines into all of these action plans. That way you know that you are making progress. Okay, and depending on the age of your children, you can also have them involved in the process. So my kids are young, but as we're getting closer to the date, we're going to start having them involved in the process. At this time, since we're still in the planning process, there's really no need for them to know all about that. But as we're getting closer to a date and all of that, it's good for them to be involved, to be excited about it. That way they know that it's something that we're doing as a family. It's not just mom and dad doing this thing and we're just following. But again, depending on the age of your kids, it might be more appropriate to have them involved from the get-go, from choosing the destination and things like that, or maybe at the last minute, hey, it's time to get on the plane, let's go. All right, so those were my steps for this process, like the mom's guide to moving abroad with kids in the smoothest way as we can. Obviously, we know that moving abroad, traveling in general, is always a little hectic sometimes, and so nothing is set in stones, and we're humans, and when we're traveling with little ones, things can happen. So I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you want me to go into more details about any of these steps on maybe how we picked our destination. I have a few videos about that, on how we picked Cote d'Ivoire and Cameroon, and I'm going to link one of those videos right here. That way you can watch it next. All right, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it. Share the video with somebody else. That way it can help them in their process of preparing to move abroad with kids as well. All right, I will talk to you soon. Bye.